Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, we'd like to give all glory and praises due to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to our apostles, elders, and bishops of Great Millstone, the ones that rule over the flock of Israel. Shalom and salutation to you, Akim, out here who are pushing the words of truth and sincerity. Shalom to all the Lord's elect, Akim and Akwathim, scattered Israelites and Israelite foreigners, Abaratazah, Lord willing. This video is edifying. I'm your brother, Rapal Math. All right, alongside the priest Hadan and priest Raheem. We are Great Millstone here at the branch of Birmingham, Alabama. I brought this out as lessons edifying. Tonight's lesson is concerning famine alert, prophecy of starvation, global hunger, or biblical proportions. You know, the idea of biblical proportions means something major, large scale, all right, earth shaking, earth shattering, attention grabbing, biblical proportion. A proportion is like a portion, you know, how much you get. So the biblical proportions are the largest one. So we're talking about global hunger on the largest scale possible. All right. And these are prophecies concerning starvation to come, famines to come, actual famines, physical bread. And we could go over, we will go over, Lord willing, just a few pointers on the concepts of how that could happen, you know, as far as prophecy goes, like prophetically what we could see in our timelines, meaning what to look out for. Also just scriptures concerning the severity of starvation or hunger in itself, famines in itself. A few historical accounts of when these things have happened in our history as Israelites. And we'll start with the clips of what some people around the world had to say concerning their skill set in farming and agriculture. For instance, this guy right here who's on the screen is skilled in agriculture and farming, and he's going to give his account. He's from somewhere of Asia, I would believe, maybe a Thailand, Malaysia. He's going to give his account on the farming production, the farming industry, 2026. You know, very simple minded to think that farming doesn't involve gas and oil prices, or it's not directly your food resources are not directly influenced by the current events, specifically that of the Middle East dealing with the Strait of Hormuz. So everything right now is tied in, as opposed to somebody just believing farming is some old guy in suspenders, you know, just hauling a mule, you know, down his a few acres. No, farming is an industry. Okay, and it's just as fragile as any other industry. So, Lord willing, we get into that, and we're gonna start off with this clip. Babakasha, you can hit play on that one.
People believe that we have so much food in the world. When you go to the market, full of food everywhere, it's a lot of food. As long as you have money, you don't need to worry about food at all. That's what most of people think. But what people did not think is all the food in the market is come from a few places. It will be delivery very far away. And then we need to rely on many systems. We need to rely on many things outside. We need to depend on the truck to deliver food. We need to depend on gas, on the fossil fuel as a source of energy. We need to rely on chemical, on fertilizer, chemical fertilizer, and everything. So all the food that we have now, we need to spend a lot of money to get the food, to produce the food for human.
Pause
It
right there.
happen.
What that means is that there's something called a global food supply chain, right? And even at the agricultural level, it's dealing with how to get the resources. The resources are fertilizer, okay, and it takes gas in order to bring around the fertilizer. So the cost of gas affects the cost of fertilizer. That's one of the main things he's talking about that's being impacted by the Strait of Hormuz today. All right, so this is just one side of it. Remember, this is a preliminary or the early phases of food production is agriculture. It all starts from the ground, and all of the things that we're supposed to be eating, even though a lot of it is just synthetic drugs now. Wheat comes from the ground still. Beef comes from, animals that eat from the ground still. But it has to be processed. So all of this food got to be processed. He's talking about before the processing, it takes this much to get it started. Let's continue a little bit.
With the money system, with the petroleum system, with the marketing, with the everything, whatever happened in the world, it can have the big impact on our food system immediately. So that means we will have the great famine soon. And if it happened this time, it will be different. There are many factors that will impact our food system in the world now, because our food system is monopolized system. It's not, the food is not in the hand of most of people. The food is not in everywhere like we used to have in the past. Whatever happened, it will have a big impact on our food system immediately. The Great Famine will be the most serious crisis in human history, because in the past we have a lot of famine, but people can find food around themselves easily because everybody know what is edible, what's not edible around them. And then the nature is so fertile in the past. When we have no food, we just walk to the forest. We can foraging so many things from the forest. We have a lot of tubers, wild tubers. We have a lot of vegetable. We have so many things in the forest. We can do hunting. We can do many things. Or you just go to the river, to the pond, full of fish. But now it's not like that anymore. Nothing like that. We have no fertile natural resources anymore. So if the crisis happen now, it will not gradually happen, but it will happen immediately. We maybe have no time to think about it, no time to plan, no time to prepare anything. It's similar to COVID-19. It just boom, and then we don't know what to do immediately. That's what will happen in the near future. The great famine this time, it will be the worst famine in human history. It will not be the same because our condition is so different from the past. Many people don't think that it will happen, but if you look at the cause that will make this thing happen, it's quite scary. The three main factors that will cause the great famines in the near future. The first thing is we lack of skill and wisdom about food. Most of people were trained to depend on the market, to depend on the main system. People ignore developing their skill about how to grow food, how to raise animal, how to catch animal, how to cook food. Even what is edible, what is not edible. We have less and less skill about this. And most of us will eat only what the corporation prepare for us. So we don't know how to live by our own in the nature anymore. Most of people be like that. So this is the most important part, that we lack of the skill how to produce food ourselves, and we lack of wisdom how to grow food, how to get food with no money. Now we were trained to make money and then use money to buy food. But when the money have problem, how can we survive? This is the weak point of system that we have now. The second factor that will cause the great famine is we have no seed in our hand. Most of farmers, they have no seed in their hand All of them have to depend on the corporation, the seed from the corporation, and all the technique, how to grow things, all the technology, material, and everything. We need to depend on the corporation. Farmer cannot do farming with no money as before anymore. We need to depend on the corporation. We need to depend on something outside and far away. That can cause biggest problem in our life. When farmer cannot buy seed, when farmer have no fossil fuel, no diesel, no machine, they become handicapped immediately. They cannot do anything. This is sad thing. This is the way we developing for. Farmer did not keep their self-reliant talents about farming anymore. They have to depend on the system. Most of farmers said, if I have no money, I cannot do farming. That's so sad. How can farmer develop to this point? With no money, you cannot do farming. That's what many people believe. So this part is quite serious to think about. And the third factor that will cause problem is we ruin natural resources completely. We kill the soil. Most of the soil in the world now is so hard to grow things. It's a dead soil almost everywhere. We ruin the water. Most of water in the world was contaminated. Most of the water was polluted completely. And we ruin the diversity of plants and animals in the world. There's not enough biodiversity left to sustain our life.
Hey, pause it real quick out.
These three factors.
Carl, you know, you bringing out a lot of truthful points, you know, concerning the downfall of what we know as a food industry and the supply chains and how fragile it is, and how because of this tied into this whole gas situation, it's likely that food is going to not be an option for a lot of people the way it is today. And that would mean a famine, you know, and that's how quickly it would be. And that's from a carnal perspective. Now we know the Father. Can we get Nehemiah 9:6 by Bakashah? You know, we know that the Father of lights, the creator, Yahweh, is the one who supplies all our needs, right? He's the one that keeps us alive. Um, he's the one that sustains us, right? This whole ecosystem is designed to be circular, you know, from the top of the food chain to the bottom. It's all fragile, but it's all orderly. And so once you have a lot of disorder as way of the wars that's causing disorder, Esau being ruling over us for one, that's a disorder. The tactics that he uses to steal other nations' lands and resources, it's all disorderly. So the Heavenly Father ultimately set him up to bring about that chaos and disorder, which would be a vehicle for us to come seek him 10 times more because of the calamities that come upon the earth from Esau ruling. You got that scripture?
Con.
Bakashah.
Con, the book of Nehemiah, chapter 9 and verse 6, it says, Thou, even thou, art the Lord Yahweh alone. Thou hast made heaven, the heaven of heavens, with all their host, the earth, and all things that are therein, the seas and all that is therein, and thou preservest them all, and the hosts of heaven worship thee.
Heavenly Father, Yahweh is the preserver. Can you click on that word preserve?
Mm-hmm.
Because this is what's going to be needful in times when the Lord brings about calamity. And Babakashah, just can you grab Proverbs, Raim? You can go ahead and get that word I done, but was that 1 and 20? You know,
I got you. You said 1 and 20?
yeah, read it real quick. It's look for the verse. You didn't basically when they didn't listen.
Con, yeah, I'll start at 20 then.
Con.
It says, Wisdom cried without, she uttereth her voice in the streets.
Yep, and jump to verse 3, Babakashah. Yep, that's this word going out in this time frame we in. You don't got to go into the churches to get this word. You could get it from online, from brothers that's on the streets, so forth and so on. It's outside. Go ahead.
Kind of jumping on to verse 3, it says to receive the instruction of wisdom.
Or 23, rather.
Looks like it. Kind of this Proverbs 1 and 23. It says, turn you at my reproof. Behold, I will pour out my spirit unto you. I will make known my words unto you.
He's trying to help you. This is help. This is mercy in the form of, I acknowledge the situation you in. Let me help you correct it. Turn at my reproof. Listen to my words, the words of my prophets. Believe in my son, whom I sent. This is my son. Hear ye him. And at that reproof, you either become corrected and turn back to the Lord, right, and be cleansed and healed, or you just keep walking in your ignorance. Go on.
Come. It says, because I have called and ye refuse, I have stretched out my hand and no man regarded.
No man regarded. You didn't listen. All right. Many that stretch out the hand of the Lord is going to be his prophets. The mouth of the Lord is going to be his prophets. Right. Consume them with the fire of his his prophets. You know, consume them with their mouth. So the Lord has disseminated this truth and gave you a vehicle in a way in which you could be delivered. But they didn't hearken to it. And so from that point on, they don't get the preservation of the Lord. And so one of the vehicles the Lord has to judge you by is famine, which we're getting into, which the man is showing you how fragile the industry is. And he's already a believer that we about to head into the greatest famine. Not only is the agriculture and the system jacked up because of way the Strait of Hormuz and oil prices, but people don't know how to farm like in the old school days. People know how to grow their own crops like the old school days. The water sources is getting dried up. This ain't like the old school. So famines technically was worse back then. So this is the greatest famine. People just don't know what to eat. You know, he said they got the knowledge back then of what to eat, where to go in the forest to grab it. If you needed something, there's no alternatives here except for your supermarkets. So people going to end up consuming first each other, then left to die. You got that word preserve out?
Come. The word preserve, Strong's H2421. It says to live, have life, remain alive, sustain life, to live prosperously, live forever, be quickened, be alive, be restored to life or health.
Yeah, that remain alive, man. You know, call Lord, how about Lord, willing we those like that get to remain alive. That's preservation. That's our desire and need for the days of famine and evil to come. Brothers, got anything?
Con, I got something real quick.
Got it out.
Con, just to bag up this devil and his infrastructure and just going to the supermarkets. That's the way he set up the system. But that's also with a part of the curses. This is the book of Deuteronomy 28 and verse 48. It says, therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in the want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. And just adding on to the point, even with the guy saying, man, how this devil is doing things up, he's basically making a supply and demand. You know, and that's how inflation and things like that's going to go up, because it's going to get to a point when it's going to take more money for them to ship the food than the food worth, man. Then it's going to get to a point when people are going to be in a desperate state, and ultimately it's going to lead into cannibalism. It's going to lead into crazy things, and it's going to lead to niggas taking their tiny little device. Because again, what this devil is doing is order out of chaos. You know, order out of chaos. But this place deserves, man. You have a Burger King, a Chick-fil-A every corner. You know, here in this society, people just love to eat. You know, niggas can't even do a 12-hour fast. Nigga can't even do an immediate fast, man. And the reason why, because his stomach and his mindset is just all about stuffing food in his face.
They got to eat, huh?
Yeah, they got to eat. You know,
hey, you know what? If I may, y'all heard of Ozempic?
Yep.
Con.
Ozempic is a drug that actually comes from the venom. They studied the venom of a Gila monster or a Gila lizard
Yeah.
or Gila lizard over there in Utah area, New Mexico. And what it do is it stop the something called a sphincter. You know, that piece of organ that attaches your intestines to your stomach, and it opens up your stomach when it's ready to pass it through the intestines. So it's like it's a conscious, subconscious thing. But the venom stimulates and it restrains that organ from opening up. And so they created this drug from the venom of a damn lizard because your fat asses can't figure out how to stop eating. So now people are taking Ozempic, that's really poison from the venom of a lizard. That if you had injected in you straight from the lizard, damn near die, man. But they're using that because the symptoms of it is it strickens your stomach from passing food. So these devils study that again. They don't spend time all day on the games. They studying things and researching things and using their money to promote more evils in ways to straighten. As a brother was speaking, using ways to stricken Jacob more and more, stricken you so that you could take that jab and that mark. It's all designed so you don't get real pleasure from Ozempic. You get diseases. They coming to find out breast cancer is up in people who took Ozempic. Tumors are up, cancer is up, and people that's taking these things. There's no solution to proper dieting and exercising, and our Lord told us this, about a healthy body. It's better than riches and whatnot. So, that just goes to show that the wicked are still in power and rule, man, and we need salvation. Salaki, brother, go ahead.
God, it's the spirit, man. We do need salvation. Because again, niggas is bred here just to eat and to stuff their mouths. And this is this going to be one of the punishments that the Lord is going to have to send upon these people to really humble them. That's one of the worst ways to die is starvation. It's a slow death, man. And especially here in the West, other places, you go into the Middle East, they used to not eat for a couple of days. But soon as some pop off in America, which through the spirit, even the guy said it's gonna happen instantly. Soon as some pop off in America, Americans they just gonna go crazy. We seen what happened. What that was when Popeyes ran out the chicken sandwiches. Niggas start finding different things like that. Just imagine when there's no food in a 500-mile radius. Imagine the mindsets of the people then. But again, just going back into the curses, Esau set this system this way. Even the guy he was talking about, you used to go back and you can go into, I know down south, man, used to have pecan trees and apple trees, fig trees. And then I know, especially during the 2010s, the city came out and cut those trees down in the cities, man. In order for you to really go and get like a true fruit tree, you got to go real deep in the country. But at the same time, this guy just setting things up for this famine to affect people, man.
Wow. That's malicious as hell. I Don, before you bring yours out, can we go through a few of them screenshots that I had?
Yeah, kind.
Yeah, the way, and you could blow them up and read them. We get right into it. The way Esau gonna do Jake dirty in this time, man, is needs to be studied, man. He's the true evil one, the devil. But we got to convince Jake still in 2026. Go ahead, out.
So it says, yes, the U.S. federal government has implemented mandatory rationing operations during major conflicts. Is this the one you want to read, Squan?
Yep, all of them. We're gonna go through a few.
It says the most extensive federal rationing occurred during World War II, managed by the Office of Price Administration, OPA.
Yeah, so this is something that's a reality, and it's happened before. Again, helping people understand that things that's happened before can happen again. Normalcy bias isn't needed. You can't be biased against something that actually happened. Okay, so World War II, people are still alive from World War II. Very few, but still. And they remember a time when the government had to ration. That's how bad it got. So it's happened before. To help your brain understand, you can actually look at pictures. There was photography at that time. During a time when you had to go and get ration food. The word rationing is defined is the controlled, equitable distribution of scarce resources, goods, or services. Governments and authorities typically implement this measure during emergencies such as wars, natural disasters, or severe supply of chain disruptions. So we talk about two things. Wars, that's a natural disaster that where the government has to now ration because food is limited, and the automatic or the mandated or the manufactured disruption in supply chains, which means that you're not going to easily get your food. So where are you going to get it from? The government is going to decide. All right, we taking down all the food, and the government now controls all these. United States government now controls Stop and Shop. If you live down south, the pig, Publix, and then they decide how much you get. This has happened before, so it's nothing new. Let's go to the next one. You can read from the top.
So it says rising inflation and lingering economic shocks have elevated domestic food insecurity in the United States.
Can't hear you. Are you still there?
You can't hear me?
Raheem, could you hear him?
Yeah, I can hear him. I can hear him pretty good.
Can you hear me now?
I think the elder. I think his mic.
Go ahead. If y'all can hear each other, go ahead.
Starting over, it says rising inflation and lingering economic shocks have elevated domestic food insecurity in the United States. So with
let us know if y'all can hear us on whoever's listening.
So it goes on to say, with approximately 10% of American households skipping meals or facing food shortages, globally over 300 million people face acute food insecurity, exacerbated by regional conflicts in the Middle East, extreme weather, and the threat of El Nino.
El Nino. If I may, Papa Kushan, just going back at the top there, raising inflation goes back into what? Supply and demand. A perfect example, oxtails. A couple of years ago, oxtails wasn't a big thing, but it's an increase in prices because everybody wanted it. So just imagine food, a pack of a chicken, let's say a 50 gig or 500 get shipped every week. Just imagine if that 500 become 100 chicken wings, man. And ultimately that's going to raise a $20 price into a $200 price, hyperinflation. Which is going to get to a point when you can't afford any food. It was an article that came out earlier this year. A guy made a statement. He's going to have to choose to either pay his bills or eat. And again, that's that desperation mindset that Esau wants you to be in. You got it, bro.
Continue reading on. It says current states of alert. Global hotspots, the UN and the World Food Program identify ongoing critical vulnerabilities with high-risk famines and acute hunger affecting regions such as Gaza, Sudan, Yemen, and Somalia. It says U.S. cost pressures, high grocery prices, and stagnant wages for lower-income households are pushing more Americans to rely on SNAP benefits and local food banks.
Yeah, it says they supplying on SNAP benefits and local food banks. What that is, the government, man. And that's how this devil is setting things up. So you can look towards him when these bad times coming. Because this is a man-made family that he pushing for.
Goes on to say supply and product recalls. The USDA Food Safety and Inspection Service maintains active public health alerts, occasionally updating for potential contamination. Salmonella or Listeria in select dairy and meat products. Yeah, so
you got it. No, you got it.
Yeah, I mean, just we understand that these devils are behind everything that's going on. Because they got an agenda, like you were saying. It's pretty much the poor that's been put in a real tight spot, but it's going to be everyone once it all goes down, because really, it's going to be a worldwide famine. But right now, you got the poor that's going to feel it first, which goes into the Israelites, the tribes, all right, who are living paycheck to paycheck. So when inflation increases, and they ain't got no way to get these needs, and by default they gotta seek refuge from the devil, man.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why they're going to be going to these different government programs, and they're going to have to take a charagma to receive certain benefits.
That's right. That's why a lot of camps just don't get right. You got to have that big picture. What's Esau? What's Esau's end game, man? Just straights, after dire situations, after chaos, after chaos. What would be the order out of the chaos? It's implementing that mark.
Mm-hmm.
You can go to the next one.
God.
The water too. Yeah, Satan. I couldn't hear nothing. Knock him. Or the
Quan,
elect.
you might
Go
cut
ahead.
my screen for a second.
Oh yeah. 1 second. I got you. Hold on. Yep. So again, we talking about a time where all the food in this, the supply chain stop. You got some food that got to come over here cold, meats
Mm-hmm.
and whatnot. That's going to stop. What's going to happen to the food if there's a holdup? If there's traffic at the ports, that's such a thing. You got it, brother.
God.
So it's very dire, this situation going on with food. You need every part of that chain. That's why it's called a chain. You need every part of it to work, or else the food gets um gets moldy, and it's not good to eat. It's called perishable goods because they could perish, they die. It's unedible anymore. So that's how severe this situation. And Esau knows that. Esau knows that. He's basically playing the law, but on the left hand side, he's judging, right? And of course, Yahweh Shem Yahshua is behind him doing that. He's the perfect God to interrupt your daily food supply chain. That's how evil he is. Again, he said that these people, we got to do, Bill Gates himself, we got to do something about all the people in the world. If we do a really good job at vaccines,
Yeah.
we can lower the population. If we do a good job, and then there's too many people, and there's too much food, and it's too much. So, I mean, they want you back, people gone, man. They look at people like, yo, get out of here. Let's keep going. What we got?
Kind of says here, as a nation ever stopped their food exports, or has a nation?
Right, because in the time of war, there's another reason. Just as we throw another reason on top of that. These nations could find out that, look, we low on food right now, so we can't export no more meat. We can't export no more crops. Sorry, we can't export wheat this season. What's going to happen with on the out for America? You just got to rely on all of the storehouses. The scriptures say they're going to be emptied.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to be able to rely on something. Okay, what you're going to rely on, for the elect, is Yahweh Shem Yahushua and all of the miracles taking place that we've seen from times past. We've seen read stories of prophets who is pulled and dragged to go feed other prophets, by the hair. We read stories of manna in the wilderness. We read stories of the 2 loaves, or is it 5 loaves and 2 fish, feeding multitudes a few times. We've read stories of the oil or the barrels being filled with oil, or the word is multiplying, right? So we privy to Yahweh Shem Yahshua's miracles, and we're gonna be in need of those in these days. Let's go.
Kind of says, yes, nations frequently halt or restrict food exports. These measures, often called food protectionism, is typically implemented during periods of crisis, such as droughts, pandemics, or wars, to protect domestic food supplies, lower local food inflation, and ensure citizens have enough to eat.
Yeah, I mean, you want to speak on that? If not, you can go to the next one. Yeah, feel free, brothers, if you want to chime in. You can hit the next one. Is there any more of those? Or you got to, okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to slack. I'm trying to zone out.
Yeah, yeah. Con Salaki, I got you.
without going back into the main screen.
Con, I got you. Take your
Okay,
time.
Con. So it says here, how long does it take for a shells to be empty in the national? How long does it take for shells to be empty in a national food crisis?
Oh, so we passed the part of is it gonna happen? We getting right into the thick of it. The man said it's gonna happen, and immediately, right? Was that his word?
Yeah.
Immediately,
Yeah.
uh, he said COVID, reminiscent. Like we didn't know what to do, and that's real. COVID, like that's the first time all kind of people was like, well, I don't know what we supposed to do. 6 feet? Oh, 6 feet. Okay, my bad. Yeah, yeah, 6 feet. Give me 6 feet. People was hollering and screaming. People was coming into laundromats and in the grocery stores with full plastic bags over their head. They didn't know what to do. This is emergency panic situations. So we're gonna see that again. Go ahead, Al.
Mm-hmm. Kind of says during a national food crisis, local grocery store shelves can be completely emptied in 24 to 40 hours. Due to panic buying.
Uh-oh. 24 to 48. That's how long you got. That's not a long time. Think about if you even got an alert on your phone. Stores are being emptied right now. That means you got about 12 hours. And it's not gonna be shopping going on. It's gonna be panic, man. Panic buying move different. Lines is out there. You ever been to a grocery store and the line was 2 hours long? So we talking about dangerous times in emergency situations. And the Lord said, I'm gonna make it dire. Plagues, pestilences, diseases, famines, if it already be kindled. Perilous time shall come. Seek ye the Lord while it may be found before the evil days draw nigh. It's times of war and it's times of peace. So we ready. We in tune. Watchmen. And it's locked in the spirit. And it's what? The spirit of Yahushua is what is it? Testimony of Yahushua is the spirit of prophecy.
Mm-hmm.
So this is prophecy. Something that hasn't occurred yet, but our spirit is already ready for it. Go ahead, Al.
Kind of says because major because major retailers rely on just in time and inventory.
Mm.
They typically hold only a few days of stock in back rooms before requiring restock deliveries.
So no, there's not gonna be no more food at that store by the time you get there. You're gonna need an alternate, and nobody has alternates. People don't know where to go for groceries. Some people say I've been going there for 30 years. They're gonna be destitute, man. You're gonna see actual people starving. That look on their face is not because they just ran a mile. Let's go to the next one.
Kind.
All information about the famine and how delicate the situation is and how it's a part of biblical prophecy. So we have to go through it, and it's of biblical proportions. So it's going to be the worst ever. The scriptures tell you about the worst ever. It shall be worse than ever before in time. Go ahead.
Mhm. Kind. So it says, are we seeing the lowest levels of cattle ever recorded? And it says, yes, the U.S. cattle herd has shrunk to 86.2 million head, marking the lowest total inventory in 75 years.
Yeah, you've seen the lowest beef numbers in 75 years. Get ready. Get ready. Mark your calendars, man. We in the right spirit. They didn't tell you that, did they? They ain't sharing that when they said, "Yep, keep sending him to school, and he's a bright student. He's gonna get his college degree." They ain't including that part. Nobody's miserable enough to talk about this stuff. Nobody's daring enough, except for the Lord's men, the watchmen. Good. So the Lord set up watchmen, so that makes it easier for these people to just hear the watchmen. You don't have to wait up at the towers. You don't have to stay up late. You don't have to scare your whole family. Just listen to the watchmen and prepare for the day of the Lord. All right. Scaring people in your house. There's a famine coming. That's for you. All right. Is there any more of that?
That's pretty much the point on that.
Okay. If brothers got anything?
If I
Yeah.
make just a real quick point,
Go.
niggas love meat.
And I believe that's gonna lead to niggas revolting to cannibalism too.
That's absolutely right. That's a great point, especially when meat is cooked. He ain't gonna ask like, "What's that you got over there?" Nah, he gonna, don't ask, nigga.
Mm.
that's you know, old man, as old man up the street. He's cooking them, man, in his backyard. It's a famine going on, right? He didn't make it in time for the government rations, so he had to choose other means. It's gonna get ugly, man. People's food's gonna dry up. The scriptures say the love of many shall wax cold. This is part of that psycho attitude that these people are having when their food is depleted. People don't know how to act, man. They're gonna do enough blaming the government before they turn to you looking like a hamburger. You got it. Anybody else bring out anything?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if I may add too, you get the whole tick thing that's going to contribute to people not eating beef as well. So it's like it's a double whammy.
I mean, they coming after you biologically. They coming after you scientifically, but it's efficient. And this is what Esau do, right? Is he not the cunning hunter that we thought he was? He gonna disrupt the food chain by way of staying in the Strait of Hormuz. By the way, Israel and Iran just attacked each other again. Aren't we mid ceasefire? Wasn't there some type of agreement? Wasn't Trump at the Knicks game? I thought everything's good. Nope. It's called bread and circuses. Your food is about to be disruptive. Oh, you know what? There's something about the recently. I think a brother brought out an article. Recently, Trump had a meeting with all of the agriculture, like all of the farmers. He had a meeting with the farmers. What's he doing meeting with the farmers? What is the level? If you could, can you pull up Google and just type that in real quick? See if we get anything from that. Did Trump? Quick answer. Did Trump meet with farmers? And see what day that was. I believe that was last week.
Yep.
So this is current, man. What did it say?
Yep. So it says President Donald Trump visited Custer Farms in Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin, where he held an agriculture roundtable to appeal to royal voters. It says, Salakia, and reassure farmers concerned about rising fuel and fertilizer costs.
Oh, why is the food? Why is the fuel and the fertilizer getting expensive? That's two things you got to worry about: fuel, because them big ass machines got to be fueled up, and fertilizer because that's shipped over. America don't make its own fertilizer. Fertilizer is the entirety of the industry. See how one little thing, the Lord is bad, man. You need him. We read it earlier. He's a preserver of all life. Easily stop that, But go back to what you had out. You had a precept.
Kanye, just going into it, because as we open up with the guy, he was kind of exposed into, the madness that's going on. He took a trip down that rabbit hole. So, when you go to Ecclesiastes 1:17, it says, "And I gave my heart to know wisdom and to know madness and folly. I will see that this is also a vexation of spirit. For in much wisdom is much grief, and he that increase of knowledge increase of sorrow." Yeah, so it's like you can either turn a blind eye to things and be oblivious and live in a state of bliss, or you can, take what pill is it? Is the red pill or the blue pill?
Right, right.
And you can learn the in or outs of what's going on in the world, and you'll find out that there's a lot of crooked, corrupt things that are taking place that is really contributing to your demise. They're taking the seeds out the fruits, so you can't plant. They're genetically modifying the plant so you can't reproduce, and all that. They're poisoning the soil. All right, everything is just contributing to your sickness and and disarray. So Esau, over time built up the perfect system to allow you to completely depend on him as he starts to bring forth this new way of life in which you're going to be completely, led by him. All right. He's going to be your source of life in the world to come. So that increases sorrow. if you don't have Yahweh Shemel Shai, you know. So the great thing about us is that we have another source, we have another power, okay, that is able to produce what miracles, like you mentioned, you know, making food materialize and just sustaining, you know, us like he did with prophets of old, man. Anything is possible because we know that he is the one who's controlling this. So if you don't have this knowledge, and of course, you're going to be miserable. You're going to be in grief, and you're not going to know how to get out. You might try to move off into the country and, you know, and have your own plot of land, you know, and try to make it from there. But that's not going to be enough, you know. So pretty much these people have come to the conclusion that the ones in power are ruling this place in error. If I can get one more. Ecclesiastes 10:5. There is an evil which I have seen under the sun on earth, as an error which proceeded from the ruler. All right. When you read Sirach, the 10th chapter, it speaks about how an unwise king destroyed his people. And so when you come into that reality, it's like, you know, it produces this state of like, what do I do now? You know, like, how do I get out of this situation? What about my future? You know,
perplexity.
Yes, like, yep.
Sounds a lot like perplexity. Yep. God.
Yeah, that's it. And it's really leading you all the way up into the destination, like we mentioned earlier, of that charagma, that chip. You know, you read in Luke 21:25, it speaks about Esau condensing everything and driving the cattle into a place where he can administer medication, you know, the solution to your problems. But this is ultimately an error from the rulers. You know, you got a thing called climate change. All right. Pollutions in the air. Right.
Yeah. Conflict.
Yep.
War,
man. War. You know, and this man is actually waging war against the people. That's a quote from what Henry Kissinger. He says that he who controls the food controls the people. You know, so when you come across stuff like that, it's like, damn, you see exactly what they're doing behind the scenes. All right, to draw the people into, you know, his will of taking the charagma, because he wants you to come to him. All right, for the solution to your problem, and it's going to take you having to bow down and take this man's chip if you don't have, you know, your house shy. You know, that's it.
Hey, you had something to share too, didn't you?
Yeah.
Come on, let's go. Shy.
Part of the object.
Yeah, so this is wait a minute, worldwide famine being engineered. Okay, Canadian prepper.
Part of the object of this war is massive depopulation. We're not talking about 1 million people. We're talking about in the billions. You'll end up out of gas and diesel and fertilizer. You'll end up in famines, probably in 2027. What would you do to make a famine? First, you would get rid of fertilizer production. You would do lawfare against the farmers and the fishermen, and that's it. Europe's cooked. United States will be cooked. Canada will be cooked, and more or less actually already is. Oil prices are nothing to do with this, man. That's distraction. This is about depopulation, and they don't care about your votes. They don't care about midterms. The war will just grow. They are coming to.
Hey, that got to be the spirit. The word for devastating situation is cooked.
Wow.
Right? If you in the worst situation of your life, you cooked. You know, and we're going into famines, man. I mean, the Lord got a sense of humor right there, man. But go on.
Oh, if I may, Slacky, that's you know, scripture as well with Isaiah 24. Now the curse that devoured the earth, and it's gonna be pretty much a few men left after it's burnt.
Ooh.
You know, climax. You know, Slacky.
Oh man, it's heavy. Yep. Even the melting pot analogy. You know, but yeah. Oh man, curse devour the earth, man. Starvation is a curse.
Yeah.
Is a curse. You can't leave that out. Everybody can see. Well, Jake, we, you know, African American black people, we at the bottom, man. You can see that curse. Another one of the Lord's plagues and his curses he's going to send is a lack of bread, man. That changes the game right there, man. You can't be comfortable in that situation at all. Don't know, birthday matter, nothing matter. That wipes the slate clean. When you got to worry about your next bite, it's devastating. You're cooked. By that time, let the Lord be with you and deliver you and ration with you. You got the rations of the Lord rather than the rations of the government. Who's going to come with a mark? You got it, bro.
Destroy us, you and me. I mean, we're on the menu.
World War III is already happening.
This is a house of cards, and it is in the process of collapsing right now.
You're going to see an economic crash the likes of which we've never seen.
There go that red and blue pill.
Hi, folks. Canadian Prepper here. Today on the channel, we have Michael Yon, a former Green Beret and independent war correspondent, an author and photographer known for reporting directly from conflict zones, migration corridors, and global crisis points. He has recently warned that converging pressures on the food supply, fuel, fertilizer, various supply chains, as well as social instability could produce a severe famine, and this might be partly engineered or perhaps entirely engineered. So I wanted to have him on today to talk about this because, of course, this is a conversation that a lot of my audience has felt is long overdue because, of course, as preppers, one of our staple commodities in terms of preparedness is going to be food. And so right now we have a situation around the world where we have these agricultural input bottlenecks in the supply chain, be it diesel or fertilizer. We have closure of the straits and possible closure of future straits. We have droughts, climatic issues, possibly even biowarfare might rear its ugly head at some point. And on top of all of it, we have government regulation that is always there in the dark corner of the room. And so, Michael, thanks first for coming aboard. And I want to ask you, you've been floating this theory that you foresee a major famine in the future. And what are the primary drivers of that going to be in your mind?
I've probably said this thousands of times since 2020. So I've published it many times and said it on everywhere from Tucker Carlson to Jordan Peterson and 1,000 other shows. You know, it's really clear, actually. My wife, Masako, and I travel around the world looking at this. We've been to about 30 countries just in the last 4 or 5 years looking just at this. From Argentina to, we were recently we spent more than a month with Catherine Austin Fitz in Netherlands. Then we went up to Sweden and Norway and Denmark and Germany. We're going to keep
real fit.
By the way, we're not just randomly traveling.
Captain Austin Fitz is the woman that constantly goes into the market of beast being an RFID chip. You know, she's an Edomitish looking woman in the banking industry, an insider. And she always brings out the fact that they're going to go into a point in which all money is going to be digital. And in order to buy or sell, you'll have to take one of the New World Order microchips. So, you know, dealing with that woman, he knows his stuff. He sees what's coming. He can see it's all manufactured. You got it out.
Traveling around. I mean, we were, I think, probably the first saying that we thought what's happening in Ireland now would happen. In fact, Masako and I, we successfully predicted the Nord Stream strike. In fact, we were at the BASF plant, which is the first plant in the world which did industrial scale nitrogenous fertilizer production starting in 1914, right? Using the Haber-Bosch process. And so that was where it all started in 1914 on a big scale, making that. So we thought that something was going to happen to Nord Stream. So we went to that plant twice.
Just for clarification, that's in Germany, and that's one of the plants that was, didn't they have to partially shut down as a result of that?
Yes, but they've also been moving operations anyway. When we were at BASF 14, and the second time we were at BASF 14 days before Nord Stream got hit, and it got hit on September 26th, as I recall. But we were there 14 days in advance, and actually I had bought an iPad like this, and I had just kept that bad boy open for months because there was a website where you could track the cubic meters per second that were flowing through the pipelines. And I thought, sooner or later, I think this is just going to go to zero. And it did. You're still surprised, even though you expect it. We went all the way to Germany because of it. You're still surprised when it really happened. And it really happened. I said, Masako, look, the numbers have gone to zero. Reset the computer, everything. Next thing you know, it's being reported. The Nord Stream natural gas flow is bubbling up from the sea. And now, how do we predict that? We predicted that. We predicted Groningen gas field shutdown well in advance. Predicted, which is the biggest gas field in Europe. And many people said they're never going to shut down Groningen gas field. It's the biggest gas field in Europe. And I'm like, hello? Yes. If you know what they're up to, you would predict that. And another thing, we spent about a year in Panama since.
That's what prophecy do. If you know what they're up to, you'll expect that. We expect a ground invasion in Iran. You know, we expect more turn-ups, more troops being sent to the Middle East. If you know the prophecy, you expect that. You expect famines if you know the prophecy. So we know these people. If you know who's in power, right? Earth is given into the hand of the wicked. You expect wickedness. You got to expect evil. You got to expect darkness when it comes to Esau being at the power seat. So everything toxic, evil is about to happen. You hear them. Everything's shutting down. They're shutting down the ease and access of all of these luxuries that people have in order to implement their struggle chip. You got it.
Biden was installed. We been watching the border quite a lot, all the way from Morocco to Colombia to Panama, Guatemala, the whole works, Mexico. I've been across the entire U.S. southern border. More recently, we're up in Canada looking at that border, and we went all the way to Yellowknife, actually, which is slightly away from the border. but what I'm getting to is this is all part of a comprehensive war. And part of the war includes creating famine, right? And famine creates human osmotic pressure, HOP. Human osmotic pressure is the push and pull of migration. So one of the main weapons, keep in mind, an end state goal is control of the world, right? That's just one end state goal, believe it or not. But that is the biggest end state goal that we really must be concerned with. Is there's always somebody that wants to rule, and the way that
he said, y'all heard him say, the pushing, a famine causes the push and pull of migration. Well, there was a famine in the scriptures. Joseph prophesied of a famine. Yeah. What was that? Genesis 26 or not?
47, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay. And in that chapter, they talk about how basically everybody had to migrate in order to get to where? Egypt, where they had storehouses, they had stored up food because of Joseph's dream, and so that's where they got it from. That's how they got the understanding of you can move people, create a small scale epidemic of famine in this land, and you can migrate these people to a whole nother land and then steal their resources. I mean, it's all kind of evil plots and schemes. This man doesn't sleep unless he does wicked, thinks wicked, and enacts it, and that's who he is. That's his caliber. So he done thought of every plot and scenario to steal, whereas most people just thinking about getting through day-to-day life. This is the level of thinking that the Edomite in power is doing in his wickedness and his oppression in order to implement this mark. You got it, brother.
Kind of, if I get a precept real quick.
Babaga shot, yep.
Throughout, I mean, just going back into that whole aspect of Joseph and how that famine caused people to migrate back into him because of the lack of resources. Esau is using that same blueprint, to fulfill his own desires.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the book of Sirach 29 and 21. So what is he attacking? Things that contribute to your life. So Sirach or Ecclesiastes 29 and 21, the chief thing for life is water and bread and clothing and a house to cover shame. So Esau, knowing this, he's using all these things that are used to sustain people as a weapon. You got the data centers that's using billions of gallons of water, man. I forget how many, what's the ratio as far as like you ask chat a question or how much water is being used, but it's a lot. It's sucking up, lakes, man.
Right.
And they're taking water from people, Man. And of course the bread goes in the food. That's next. They're going to take away all of that and have you to ration. They're going to have a ration where you're going to get certain portions of these things, you know, for your stability, clothing, house, cover, shame. They're going to provide all of that. Only if you submit yourself and take this man's karag. So it's like, you know, they're using that concept from Joseph as a way to rule the world, man, by causing you to come and take a chip. Then you can receive these goods, you know, see your portion if you want to live. Because, you know, going back into it, you know, eventually it came to the point where they sold themselves, you know, and that's all right. It says by us in their story. So it's like, damn, when you ain't got nothing, like they say, you will own nothing and be happy. That's what they're using, man. They're gonna strip you down to nothing and cause you to beg for your life. And they're gonna have things in store, you know, minimize though, but you got it.
Yes, they're gonna completely flip the entire system that we used to. You know, you used to, well, what happens if we don't work? They don't give a fuck about no work. What's work? They own the industries that create all the food that keep you people alive. They own you. Beg. That's all they want to hear. You beg. What you mean? We got to keep you working. We own you, you know, through this technology that you need. How'd you get that food to you? With your pride at, you know? So it shows you that, you know, they ready to humble the hell. And that's Yahweh Shem Shah. You got it, bro.
Okay.
This group, there's different oligarchical structures that are fighting now, which has been going on for many, many centuries. It's the same war. It develops over time. Different parties become more or less powerful, but it's the same war over routes, resources, and ideology.
That Mackinder style hypothesis.
Yeah, well, that's, you know, world island type stuff.
Just to, before you get going on that, you said you predicted that the Nord Stream. Did you specify in that prediction who would the culprit be that caused it to happen?
Yeah, it's really obvious. And, you know, even when I'm in Germany, you know, asking Germans who they think did this to Nord Stream, they'll blame it on Ukrainians or whatever. I say, okay, here's who did it. It's either the United States or space aliens. That's it. Those are my two suspects. And it's clearly the United States did it. It's clearly the oligarchical structure. The biggest two oligarch structures of many who are fighting are Chinese Communist Party and Zionist. Those are the two. I said on July 3rd, 2025 on my Substack that I thought Zionists would close the Strait of Hormuz, or there was a high likelihood, and they would blame Iran. And it sounded really crazy at the time. Those people have been following my work for decades know that I often say something that sounds crazy, but it's actually deeply studied. It's not these wild hypotheses. By the time I say something into a microphone or through my pen, it's going to be something I've really, sometimes it's not deductive. It is inductive. It's an intuitive leap, but it was an intuitive leap. I thought that they would close Hormuz likely and blame Iran, which they've now done, right?
And you're referring to the blockade,
right? And likewise, I predicted with very high timing the actual timing of the attack. I thought the latest that the attack would happen would be March 3rd, 2026. With the highest likelihood being March 3rd. I had reasons for saying that. It's not just random, it's or something.
Okay, so pause right there. Can we grab Revelation 6 and 5? And the reason why we can trust, you know, or believe this guy is because his ideas and his thoughts is right in the line of prophecy. You know, again, we know according to prophecy that a famine is going to hit, and we have it. We read it to you. Go ahead, Out.
This is Revelation chapter 6 and 5. It reads, seal, famine. And when he had opened the third seal, it says, I heard the third beast say, come and see. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse. And he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. And it goes on to say, and I heard a voice in the midst of the fourth beast say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and
Right,
see
so,
that.
Yep, and Salaki. Yep, you had just went over, you know, that black horse symbolizing that judgment. You know, and what we have is You know, a time in which Jake was also taken here in this land, you know, to come serve slavery. That's a part of that judgment that happened. And then we go into the next verse. It talks about these harvests or these crops and food prices being all upside down and disrupted. Well, right now we in a time of food crisis and things being disrupted. We have an entire video with people complaining. We could just show it. We ain't gotta clip it. We ain't gotta play it, but just show it. We got entire videos I could watch of people just complaining concerning food prices going on and how they can't afford it. So we're actually in a time in which disruption in food prices is affecting people and affecting their livelihoods. All right, let's get back into it. Verse 6.
Kind of Revelation 6 and 6. It says, and I heard a voice in the midst of the fort beast say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny.
Right. And in the book of Second Esdras, it goes into victuals becoming so cheap on the earth, think they self to be in good case. And at that time, that shall be a time with swords and famines and great confusion come upon the earth. Right. That's 16 and 21. So the Lord is judging by way of disrupting the food chain. All right. You will think that things is going to get easy, but they ain't. All right. Disruptions go both ways. And what's going to happen is that it's going to stop. The production is just going to stop. It's going to get so high that the part of the food chain just clips. And we brought out a few ways in which nations could do it themselves, feel like they don't have enough food to export. The gas prices, which, as you can see, America is actively increasing the gas prices and the fuel prices and the cost of food by that blockade in the Strait of Hormuz. So it's all written in there. Read on.
Kind of says, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine.
The oil and the wine, you know, the oil goes back to this truth. Wine goes back to this truth. Scriptures talk about take more oil with you. All right. So the only thing that's left is this wisdom. Crying in the wine streets for wine, this wisdom is being left. Whereas the disruption of gas prices and oil prices is happening as we speak. You see, this word still going out. This truth still coming out, but food prices getting crazy. All right. That was it on that. Brothers, got anything? Go ahead.
I got some real quick just to back up. You mentioned those people complaining. This the book of Ezekiel 7, and I'm gonna start at verse 14. It says, they have blown the trumpet even to make all ready, but none go to the battle, for my wrath is upon all the multitude thereof. And then yeah, that's it, because we've been warning the people. You even got Edomites warning the people about the upcoming dangers ahead. But again, here in this society, niggas, their minds are occupied on other things. Niggas talking about Trump being at the Knicks game last night when all hell finna break loose, man. And that's why it says in the scriptures, seeing that all these things shall be destroyed, what type of person ought you to be? You know, because if you be a person in the world, you're going to get the same judgment of the people in the world. Because as you continue on the 15th verse, it says, the sword is without, and the pestilence and the famine within. He that is in the field shall die with the sword, and he that is in the city, famine and pestilence shall devour him. And that's it. You ain't gonna be able to escape the will of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Because again, it's gonna be niggas, the local Walmarts, your local cities, they're gonna run out of food here, and niggas gonna try to go outside the city and get some, and they're gonna end up getting put to death. But ultimately, when it goes back into you not hearkening until the warning of the Lord. You know, it don't come back until you just so deep. It's just you going back into hearkening to the Lord, and also hearkening unto his prophets. You know, it tells you that in what it is, 2 Chronicles 20 and 20, hearkening to his prophets, so ye may prosper. You know, we ain't just shooting the shit. You know, we're warning you from the upcoming dangers ahead, so we may be saved from it also. You know? And again, a lot of these people, minds are not keen into what the devil is really trying to do. You know, for years, these guys thinking that the white man is just the same old white man. You know, niggas still talking about voting. Yeah, we got to go down to city councils. All that shit is not working anymore. This guy, he already halfway in there with his plans. You know, it was a thing that, oh, Salah.
Nah, I'm laughing. Yeah, Con, that's right.
It was a thing today. We was talking about it. Today down here in Alabama, they officially just voted on the data center thing, right? And niggas telling some, yeah, man, we gotta go down there and protest. It's too late. This nigga already got his NWO infrastructure
Right.
off the ground, and these people are blinded on how serious it's going to get, man.
Man.
You know, when the priest I done pulled out earlier, he that increases in much wisdom, increases in sorrow. Sometimes it's sad to see, like, yeah, these niggas gonna die. You ain't gonna die because you just a bad person, or you were just no, you're gonna die because you was ignorant unto the will of the Lord. You know?
Yo, pie. Yeah, they was on they was on color people time, right? That's why they got there too late for the data center. You know what I'm saying? Y'all being late. Y'all being, that's why Esau created you to be that way first. Indoctrinated the hell out of us. And then he didn't have to worry about but ultimately we ain't gotta carnally get ourselves out of this situation. It's just you Jakes that feel like you gotta do something physically. That's that beast in you, The Lord ain't waking you up to that. Chief Adon, you good?
Yeah, I got one. Bob
Okay, Con.
Just going to what the bro was talking about, because Jake is pretty much unaware, blind and oblivious to the dangers ahead, man. And you got the prophets out here warning you constantly. All right, the Lord is waking us up every day, man, doing videos, and Jake is still ignoring the message. So Ecclesiastes 9:12, a man also knoweth not his time, as the fishes that are taken in an evil net, and as the birds that are caught in the snare. So are the sons of men snared in an evil time, when it falleth suddenly upon them. And so, if I may, just going back into what the guy said in the opening, when this shit goes down, it's going to be abruptly, it's going to be quickly, and people are going to be caught unawares, man. So they're not going to know what to do in that time. They're not going to know the call on Yahweh Shema Shai. And basically, they're just going to be like a chicken with the head cut off, run around with no aim, man, with vain hopes, but we on otherwise, we have the reports of the prophets of old, like we was going to earlier, the miracles. And that's a part of, wisdom and knowledge being the stability of your times. So while everyone else is bugging out, you, on the other hand, are expecting a miracle. You see, you're expecting something that these people don't really believe, man. So that's the importance of having faith in the support, and knowing that the Most High is, and that He's able to do these things and will do them for His people, man. While everyone else is out there, asked out and called on different guys, and late to the shit, like in the time of Noah. You had 120 years, but what started happening, now you want to get right. No, it's gonna be too late then, man. You're gonna be dying for famine, for the lack of bread. Lamentations 4:9 kicking in, pining away for the want of the fruits of the field. But on the other hand, you're gonna have the elect, as the scripture say. If I may get one more,
yeah, come.
The book of 2nd Esdras 2, because the Lord's gonna make a separation between those who served Him versus those who did not. And it speaks about those who despise my word shall dwell in torments. So 2nd Esdras 2 and 26, it says, as for the servants whom I have given thee, there should not one of them perish, for I will require them from among thy number. And that's the 1/3 opposed to the 2/3 allotted to the plagues and destruction. So it says, be not weary. All right, so don't worry. For when the day of trouble in heaven is cometh, when the stores are empty, when people are bugging out, when the chief things of life are taken away, it says, others shall weep and be sorrowful, but thou shalt be merry and have abundance. So this is the expectation that we have. While the world is mourning, we expect to be rejoicing. That's Isaiah, the 65th chapter. All right. It speaks about how my servant should eat and they should drink, but you should be in sorrowful, and be in mourning. So we're pretty much expecting these things to pop off, while also expecting deliverance as well, to be preserved. When it said parables, we're not even tripping for real, man. We're not tripping at all. Matter of fact, again, we're hastening for these things to take place, because we know that salvation draw up now. But that's it.
That's it. Go ahead. Yep.
So like I got another one just to bag y'all brothers up. It's the
Alright.
book of Job chapter 5, and I'm gonna jump down to verse 19, just bagging
Mhm.
up the brother I done point. It says, He shall deliver thee in 6 troubles,
Mhm.
yeah, in the 7 shall no evil touch thee.
That's the yep.
Just showing you how, in these dangerous times, Yahweh Shema Shah is gonna have 5 backs. Like the priest was just saying, man, we are expecting these different miracles. Continuing
Mhm.
on, it says, In famine he shall redeem thee from death, and in war from the power of the sword. And why is that word famine though? Why is that thrown out there? Because that's a dangerous way, and that's one of the ways that the Lord can punish the human body, man. It tells you that in Lamentations, the
Mhm.
4th chapter, how it's better to die by the sword than to die by famine. Because those stricken away, pounding through for the wants of the fruits of the fields. And you got a
Mhm.
taste for a hamburger, but a hamburger is nowhere near your ass, man.
Mm.
And for lack of better words, like it says, he shall save thee in 6 troubles. There's the
Mhm.
different trials, the famines, the cannibalisms, the tribulations coming down with great wrath. But there's 7 that's ultimately the missiles. But before we get to that point, like it says in Acts 14 and 22, through much tribulation shall we enter into the kingdom of heaven. So it's not like it's going to be a cakewalk. Brothers, we just gonna be shucking and jiving in the kingdom. Now we're gonna be tested to a certain extent. To
Mhm.
test our faith, to test our trial and our foundation of faith, man. But at the
Mhm.
same time, when the Lord tests these other niggas, the ones who didn't believe, the ones who went privy into the report of Yahweh Shem Shah, once he tests them niggas, guess what? They're gonna fold. They're gonna fold how? By taking their thing, man. They see it, you know.
And Raheem, I know you had something to bring out. Can we grab his article?
Con.
Okay,
Yeah,
you
so
can go.
this Con. Yep, this is from the Guardian.com. It says U.S.-Israel war on Iran driving historic levels of global hunger. The UN says.
And if I may, it says historic levels of global hunger. This is not just because again, how these people want you to think this just a U.S. thing, this just a Israel thing. No, this thing is actually affecting the whole world. Setting up for that Revelation the 3rd chapter around the 10th verse, the hour of temptation. And what these guys going to tempt you with. If you go into the word tempt, it actually means to try by bodily conditions, man, outwardly conditions. And those outwardly conditions is what your flesh. Esau know the scriptures, man. That's why he really pulling the Joseph. The Egypt and Joseph. We
Mhm.
sold all we
Mhm.
had. So only thing we got to sell is our bodies.
Mm.
You got it out.
Con, it says conflicts and cuts and funding have left World Food Program taken from the hungry to feed the starving.
Yeah, take it from the hungry to feed the starving because it was a situation out there in Gaza, a heavy famine out there, and cities round about had to gather up their scraps to send some type of relief. But that food insecurity is still heavy over there. That shit probably gonna last 2 or 3 months, and they're gonna be back in the worst condition they was in the first place.
Mm.
You got it, bro.
Con. It says the continuing U.S.-Israel war on Iran has compounded other global disasters to drive record numbers of people into hunger at a time when funding to combat famine has fallen dramatically. The deputy head of the UN World Food Program has said.
Yeah, it says the UN World Program has said, telling you that these are the guys that's planning it. Why
Yeah.
is the UN having control of the food insecurity across the whole world? Why they ain't just worrying about the UN?
Beautiful.
Because these are the guys that's pulling the different strings in the background,
Mhm.
you know. But you can
There's a if I may, there's a is a precept in Revelations. It talks about where is that? It says they have given power over to the beast.
mhm.
Is it 17? Can we go grab Revelation 17, Baba Gasha?
Con.
Somewhere around the last 3 verses.
Con. If I may read this last part.
Oh yeah, go for it. Yep.
Yeah, so it says the WFP says 363 million people around the world are now at risk of acute hunger.
That's crazy.
4 or 5 million of them as a result of conflict in the Middle East and the consequence of oil price spike.
Now, if I may, the spirit, what does our number make y'all think of? 363
Oh
million.
yeah. That's Esau.
Mm-hmm. Oh, but also, the United States been at a level of 365 million
Oh,
population for years. Mm-hmm. I mean, so if that ain't pointing to who it's supposed to be for, man. So that's the game plan. Get you Americans and who love to eat. We kept going into that. That's a part of your upbringing, man. We going out to eat. You know what I'm saying? Oh, you got a good dad. He taking y'all out to eat. You win a football game. We going out to eat. I told y'all gonna get a pizza. You bring a pizza in the office, man. People lose their mind. Pizza, we got pizza today. We got wings today. That's like that's the watering hole of America, man. People done forgot what they was talking about. Racism don't exist no more. You see Edomites eating at Mexican restaurants. They don't even give a damn no more. They just, oh, okay. But after we leave, we call them ICE because of that food. But there's a time in which the Lord gonna disrupt the food and cause all out chaos and panic to happen, man. Let's go down to like the last 2 verses. Let me see if this is the right one, man. I pray it is. Let's start at 6. Start at 16.
The book of Revelation 17:16, it says, "And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore."
Right. The beast has 7 heads and 10 horns. This is NATO and the EU. The beast shall hate the whore. NATO and the EU is going to turn eventually against America. All right. Go ahead.
"And shall make her desolate and naked, and eat her flesh, and burn her with fire."
That's a whore. She belongs to be. She's a whore because that's where whores end up, desolate and naked. A whore is a woman that wasn't chaste or didn't keep herself. So she had to leave a life that is a heathenistic, like a heathen. She had to be a whore. She had to be detestable, and eventually they get killed, so murdered. So even the analogy of America being likened unto a whore tells you that she has to be burned or taken out essentially anyway. But go ahead.
It says, "For the Most High have put it in their hearts to fulfill His will."
It's in their hearts. It's in NATO and the EU's heart now to fulfill His will. So they position different. We hear about the scriptures where the angel was working on the prince of Persia and working on his mind. That the Lord, the hands, the mind of the king, the heart of the king is in the hand of the Lord. So here it is, another working on the nations. Now we're dealing with NATO and the EU. They're fulfilling the will of the Lord by condemning the whore. They've been in bed with the whore the whole time. That's the image, the beast and the whore riding upon the beast. Go ahead.
It says, "And to agree and to give their kingdom unto the beast, and to the words of the Most High shall be fulfilled."
Now they're giving their kingdom to the beast. And the beast system is essentially what the beast sets up, what it represents. All right, ancient Rome coming back all over again, but with this modernized technological advantage over the nations by enslaving them digitally with a digital mark. And you're talking about rations. We're talking about not being able to go inside your stores and buy and sell. It's all going to be implemented because the beast is giving itself over into the whore. I mean, the horns are giving itself over to the beast. So that system is going to be implemented everywhere in this Western society, everywhere. As much as Esau can wrap his fingers around, he's going to implement that beast system. They're giving over to the will of the Lord and giving over to the beast. So yes, marks going to be everywhere. Chips going to be everywhere. Famines is going to break these people down so that they fail force enough to take that biochip. That was it on that. Did you finish it?
Verse 18, it says, "And the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth."
America reigning over the kings of the earth. So right now America got the advantage, and it feels like that. we just grew up here. You know, it's not a lot of opposition that you've heard about in the world. All you've heard was American dominance from the time we was born. But you're going to now find America to be in a state of perplexity, confusion, famines, destitution, and the result and the answer is going to be either starve or take the mark for those that don't believe. You know, and the rest we read in Job 5, the Lord's going to deliver us from famines. All right. So, brothers, got anything?
Lie.
Okay, con. And yeah, so with that, we just gonna end it there. Aparatazah, Lord willing, this video lesson and topic was edifying. And until next time, we want to give all glory, honor, and praise due to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to our apostles, elders, and bishops of Great Millstone, the ones that rule well over the flock of Israel. Aparatazah is edifying. Shalom, Tawab La'ilah. Shalom.
Shalom to Wabba Ilah.
Shalom to Allah.